Picture this, a world in white. A planet gripped by cold so intense that sheets of ice, a mile high, sprawl across continents. The very oceans have receded, their water locked away in frozen prisons. The air is dry, the wind is a razor, and the sun is a pale, weak coin in a dusty sky. This was the world of our ancestors not 100,000 years ago. This is the Ice Age. We have a popular image of it, don't we? The brave caveman, clad in furs, triumphantly hunting the woolly mammoth. It's a heroic, simple picture. But it's a lie. The truth is far darker and far more compelling. The Ice Age was not a time of human triumph, but of human desperation. It was a relentless, thousand-year grind that pushed our species to the very brink of annihilation. This is the story of that struggle, a lost chapter in our history where the real enemy wasn't the mammoth, but the cold, the dark, and the silence of a dying world. This is how the Ice Age almost wiped us out, and in doing so, forced who we are. To understand the scale of the crisis, we must first forget the modern climate. The last great Ice Age, peaking around 26,000 years ago, was a planetary deep freeze. Global temperatures plummeted. Sea levels fell by over 400 feet, connecting continents with land bridges that are now submerged. Europe and North America were buried under immense glaciers. What wasn't ice was mostly arid, frozen steppe, a landscape we would find as alien as Mars. Our species, Homo sapiens, was a newcomer. We had evolved in the warm, forgiving landscapes of Africa. We were a tropical animal, thrown into a planetary freezer. Our thin skin, optimized for shedding heat, was a death sentence. Our relatively hairless bodies were a catastrophic design flaw. We were not the apex predators yet. We were prey, scrambling for survival in a world of saber-tooths, cave lions, and giant hyenas. And then it got worse. Around 74,000 years ago, a catastrophe struck that may have brought us closer to extinction than any event before or since. On the island of Sumatra, a super-volcano, Mount Toba, erupted. This was not a volcanic eruption, it was a planetary event. It was the largest volcanic explosion in the last 25 million years. It spewed enough ash into the atmosphere to blot out the sun for years, possibly decades. Imagine a volcanic winter lasting for a generation. Global temperatures plummeted even further. Plants died. Animals starved. The fragile ecosystems that supported early human bands collapsed. The genetic evidence tells a terrifying story. By analyzing the diversity of our DNA, scientists have identified a profound bottleneck. Sometime around this period, the entire population of Homo sapiens may have shrunk to a few thousand, perhaps only 1,000 to 10,000 breeding pairs. We were hanging on by a thread, clinging to a few isolated refuges in Africa, on the verge of joining the Neanderthals and other hominins on the path to oblivion. So how did we survive? The first truth is that we survived by moving and by adapting in ways that were not just technological, but deeply social and cognitive. While other human species, like the Neanderthals, were physically stronger and better adapted to the cold, they were specialists. They relied on close-quarters hunting of large game. Homo sapiens became the ultimate generalists of the ice. We developed a new, more efficient hunting technology, the atlatl, or spear thrower, which allowed us to launch projectiles from a safer distance. We created smaller, more refined stone blades, which could be hafted to make composite tools, a knife, a spear, an axe. This was a leap in efficiency. But the most revolutionary invention of the Ice Age was one we rarely celebrate, the sewing needle. Crafted from bone or ivory, the needle was a miracle. For the first time, we could sew together tight, form-fitting clothing. We could create layered garments. We could make waterproof boots, tents, and storage bags. This simple technology was as transformative as the discovery of fire. It was a portable, personal microenvironment. It was the thing that allowed a tropical ape to walk across the frozen plains of Europe and not just survive, but thrive. But technology alone wasn't enough. The second great adaptation was a social and cognitive revolution. Facing such extreme environmental stress, the bands that survived were those that could cooperate on a larger scale. They had to forge alliances with other bands, trade for rare resources like high-quality flint or shells over vast distances. This required more complex language, not just to say there's a lion, but to say, my cousin, who lives 5 days' walk to the south near the Great River, has access of a special stone, and we can trade him shells we found on a beach for it. This is also the era when we see an explosion of symbolic thought. The breathtaking cave art of Lascaux and Chauvet wasn't just doodling. It was a profound and complex behavior. It likely served as a repository for knowledge, migration patterns of animals, hunting strategies. It was part of ritual and storytelling, strengthening the social bonds that held the group together. In the flickering firelight deep within a cave, painting a majestic bison, our ancestors weren't just creating art. They were forging a shared identity, a collective memory that was essential for survival in a world of constant, grinding hardship. The Ice Age was a brutal, unforgiving filter. It weeded out the inflexible. It selected for the cunning, the innovative, the cooperative, and the resilient. The legacy of this fight is not just in our tools or our art. It's in our deep-seated need for community, our ability to plan for a distant future, and our incredible capacity to innovate when faced with existential threats. We are not the children of a comfortable paradise. We are the descendants of the few who endured the long, cold night. The Ice Age didn't just test us, it made us. And the echo of that struggle, the need to huddle together for warmth, to share stories in the dark, to look at a barren landscape and see a future, still resonates in the very core of the human spirit. Thank you for listening.